Okay, now I'd like to show you how to compare and order integers. We've been talking about integers, which are positive and negative whole numbers, including 0. To compare integers, you can compare the signs as well as the magnitude or size of the numbers. Greater numbers are graphed farther to the right. That's an important concept. Remember, the farther to the right you go in a number line, the bigger the value, the bigger the number. And the farther to the left you go on a number line, the smaller the number. They get smaller and smaller as you go to the left, or more negative. If I wanted to compare negative 3 and 2, one of the easiest ways is to just look at the signs. A positive number is always going to be bigger than a negative number. So, negative 3 is less than positive 2. You can see this on a number line. Obviously, 2 is bigger than negative 3. You always want to remember that sign, that little inequality symbol. Each the bigger number. Remember those funny faces from elementary school? Okay, each the bigger number. This is less than, if you've forgotten. And this is greater than. All right? Now, but here's another example. In this example, we've got negative 3 and negative 2. In this case, both of our numbers are negative. In this example, you really want to think about the position on the number line. The farther to the left, the smaller the number. So here you see negative 3. Here's negative 2. Negative 3 is farther to the left than negative 2. So it is smaller. So negative 3 is less than negative 2. If the signs are both negative, this is when it's going to be a little tricky. You're going to have to think about it. Even though, if you were to ask a little kid, what's bigger, negative 3 or negative 2? They might ignore the signs and say, oh, 3 is bigger than 2. But you know that negative numbers, the further they go to the left, the smaller they actually are. So, if it has negative signs in front of it, the bigger the number, the smaller its value actually is. Let's take a look at some more examples. If I want to graph, or if I want to compare 12 and negative 4, this is easy. A positive and a negative number, of course, the positive number is going to be bigger. 12 is greater than negative 4. You can put them on a number line if you want. But if one's positive and one's negative, those are pretty easy. Remember, you want to watch out for problems like A. Speaking of which, why don't you try A, B, and C on your own? Pause the video, unpause when you're finished, and we'll check them over. All right, let's take a look. Let's start with some of the easier ones, actually. Let's start with C. This is positive, this is negative. So 6 is greater than negative 1. This is negative, and this is 0. Even though it would seem like 0 is bigger than 5, we're talking about 0 and negative 5. So negative 5 is less than 0. 0 is greater than negative 5. Here's the tricky one. If you've got negative 3 and negative 5, remember, negative 3 is further to the right than negative 5. Negative 5 is less than negative 3. So the symbol we need here is greater than. Negative 3 is greater than negative 5. Here's a real-life example. Justin has a score of negative 4 on the Trueville trivia game. I guess there's some game where you can get negative scores. Desiree's score is negative 5. Write an inequality to compare the scores. Well, if Justin has a negative 4, he's winning. If the game is based on bigger values being better scores, Justin has a higher score. Negative 4 is greater than negative 5. That's what that means. Let's see if there's a real-life example for you to try. Yes, there is. Temperature. The temperature on Tuesday was 2 degrees. The temperature on Wednesday was negative 2 degrees Fahrenheit. That is really cold. Write an inequality to compare the temperatures and explain the meaning. Try this one. All right, if we want to compare 2 and negative 2, this is pretty easy because this is positive and this is negative. So 2 is greater than negative 2. What does that mean? It means that 2 degrees Fahrenheit is warmer or greater than negative 2 degrees Fahrenheit. The other thing you have to be able to do is order integers from least to greatest or greatest to least. So pay attention to the question that's being asked of you. You can use an underline, or you can use what we just talked about when we consider magnitude. We know that if in a problem like this, the positive integers are going to be bigger. And we have to go from least to greatest. So we've got to look for the smallest number. So we know it's going to be -9 or -3. -9 is further to the left on a number line. So that is the smallest, or least. Then we've got another negative number, -3. Then we've got our two other numbers that are not negative. 0 would come next. And then the biggest number is the positive one, 6. So that's how you order numbers from least to greatest. Consider the negative numbers first, then 0 if you have it, then any positive numbers in order from least to greatest. Here's a real life example. This table shows the lowest elevation for several continents. The lowest elevation would be the lowest point of the land. Usually there are valleys in between mountains or in canyons. So these are the lowest elevation points in all these different continents here. So they're all negative. They're all negative. So I'm going to have to look for the biggest number here, and that tells me which one is the smallest. I can see here that Asia has a low elevation of -418. That's going to be my smallest integer. Again, I'm going from least to greatest. So that's my smallest. The next biggest number here is 156. So -156 comes next. Then -105. Then -86. Notice I'm looking for the biggest numbers because even though they're big numbers, they're negatives. So the smaller their value actually is. So we're talking about something way below sea level here. -418, -156, -105, -86. What do I have left? -28 and -12. And then if I were to answer this question on a test, I would probably then put in the actual meaning. -418, that was Asia. So Asia has the lowest, the lowest elevation point out of all these continents. Then Africa, -105 was South America. I'm going to use SA. -86 was North America. -28 was Europe. And the -12 was Australia. So that's how you would order numbers from least to greatest. Try one on your own and we will wrap it up for today. Okay, let's check your work. Again, we're going from least to greatest, but watch out for that because sometimes it'll say greatest to least. So we only have one negative number, so that makes it easy. -10 is definitely smaller than the rest of these, and check that off. And we've got 0, then 12 and 18. 12 is smaller than 18. 18 is the biggest. How'd you do? Get that right? All right, bring all these notes to class tomorrow, and we will practice comparing and ordering integers again then.